everyone. Kung nasa Metro Manila kayo, medyo maulan-ulan ngayon. So welcome to Unreal Engine Community, PHL. And this is your Unreal Meetups Talk series. So welcome everyone.
This event is sponsored by Artmaker Studios, your world from a different perspective, with collaboration with the La Salle University College of Computer Studies and Game Lab, UPLB Computer Science Society, and UPHSL College of Computer Studies.
This is your host, Michael Rivero.
And I'm your co-host, Kelly Angelillo.
Okay, first things first, pag-usapan muna natin yung Unreal community. This is actually a global network of developers, designers, and artists currently using Unreal Engine. And as we all know, Unreal Engine is a very popular game development platform. Pero nowadays, it's not just being utilized sa games lang. So it's also being used in other projects like visualizations, mga PRs, product designs, simulations, VFX, and other kind of interactive content.
We now have an official Unreal community dito sa Philippines based in Quezon City with a chapter in Cebu. So our mission is to create dynamic, inclusive space where Unreal Engine enthusiasts, whether you're a beginner or a pro, can come together, collaborate, innovate, and learn from each other.
And this event actually is open to everyone, mga professionals, students, mga startups, as long as you have any cool Unreal projects. Pwedeng games, mga animations, digital products, simulations, mga visualizations, or any out of the box projects. Share nyo lang yan. We are actually eyeing for this kind of subjects.
So our speaker for today is Dr. Neil Patrick Delgado.
Good evening. Thank you, Sir Michael.
Yan. I'm gonna stop sharing right now.
Okay, so share lang ako ng screen.
Tigil lang.
Okay. So, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, sige. So, good evening, everyone. So, thank you very much for spending the weekend with us. So, with Unreal Engine community and with De La Salle University College of Computer Studies. So, I am here to discuss how we actually teach Unreal Engine, which is a required course for our game development curriculum. So, the title is The Essential Role of Unreal Engine in DLSU Game Development Curriculum. So I'd like to share more about myself. So I am currently an associate professor at De La Salle University, and I am also the lab head of the graphics, animation, multimedia and entertainment, or game lab. Okay. So it's a research center dedicated for game development research and other interactive techniques. So before I entered the academe, I was actually also part of the PH gaming industry. So I was part of one of the first Pinoy game development companies, which is Anino Games, and I was also part of the PlayLab Incorporated. So I worked in the industry 2011 to 2017. So some of the grants and awards that I have received are the Outstanding Dissertation Award. I was also fortunate to get a cloud research grant from Google, which is $5,000 and $5,000. And then I also received a special citation award in NAST. And currently, I have a funded project funded by DOST PSURD, so Department of Science and Technology, so titled Support for the PH Gaming Industry Towards Embracing In-House Game Engine Development. So based on this title alone, we're actually spearheading the development of our own Pinoy game engine. Okay. So a little bit about my research before I dive into the talk. So at least you have some idea of where I'm coming from. So my research is more of computer graphics and game development. So I focus on augmented reality game engines and game development. So this is also my recent publication titled Constructing a Game Engine. So which we will also reference in this talk when we're going to discuss Unreal. And I also specialize in computer vision and image processing, such as image enhancement in general. So with that out of the way, so we are now going to discuss a little bit about our curriculum before we dive into the Unreal Engine aspect of our course. So as background, De La Salle University, or our college, is offering the BS Interactive Entertainment Game Development Program. So it's called IET GD. So it's a 4-year degree program aimed at preparing students to become the innovators and leaders in the growing game development industry in Asia. So the program is currently following a 2 years Manila and 2 years Laguna campus scheme. So the first 2 years they spend in the Manila campus, and then the last 2 years they spend in the Laguna campus. So our high-end or dedicated game development facilities is housed in the Laguna campus. So now, Unreal Engine is actually a major or required course for our IET game development. Okay, so to summarize how we're offering game engines. So we first start with the procedural programming for the first year, and then by the second year we teach our students the object-oriented programming, and at the same time we also discuss some foundations in computer graphics. So now this came from my paper titled Constructing a Game Engine. So I have proposed proposed curriculum or a framework wherein these are the recommended courses by students or by institutions who wish to offer game development in the future. So as you see here, in the third year, we are recommending either Unity Engine or Unreal Engine. So these are the two most well-known game engines. And then in the optional stage, we require the computer graphics and game physics courses. And then by year 4, this is where we teach students how to create game engines from scratch. Okay, so this is to empower students or hopefully our students to become the leaders in game engine technology. So now, to be specific to our program, so what's being offered in DLSU is actually 2 of this, dalawang course talaga. So it's both Unity and Unreal. Okay, so they are required for our courses. So you might be wondering why we have this kind of framework or our curriculum. It's actually we aim to target, or our graduates hopefully will become the student or the graduates that are equipped with the highest level of skill as defined in the PH skill framework. So in the Philippine Skills Framework, there's a title called Head Game Programmer, and one of their clauses or critical work functions states that they must be able to design game engines. So we hope that our graduates would be able to do this whenever there's a situation that needs it. Okay, so let's dive deep into the Unreal Engine course in our IET GD program. So it's actually known as GDEng 02. So that's our course code. So it follows the sequence of GDEng 01, which is Unity. So we start with Unity, and I'll explain later why it's good for beginners to start with Unity first before diving deep into Unreal. So our sequence is as follows. So Unity, Unreal, and then Game Engine Construction. So all of these must be taken in sequence. So hindi pwedeng tumalon yung student to Unreal. So they must first pass Unity, pass Unreal, and then take the last course, which is Game Engine Construction. So this is the course description, okay, of Unreal. So this course revisits different systems. So scene lighting, complex animations, physics, material scripting, etc. discussed in an earlier course, which is Unity. So where students will tackle generally advanced techniques in these areas. So now we're in this course, GDEng 02, we will use Unreal Engine. So in the prerequisite course, we have used Unity Engine. So the methodologies and pipelines conforming to Unreal Engine standards will also be introduced. So as other notes, so our prerequisites are as follows. So students must be in their third year and must have passed the Unity Engine, and they must also pass the object-oriented programming. So this is very important, especially for Unreal Engine, because there are certain frameworks that require object-oriented programming concepts. So we require them both for our curriculum. Okay, so you might be wondering, why didn't we dive deep into Unreal? So this is our observation. Unity Engine, so it's a given fact that Unity Engine is also one of the well-known established game engines aside from Unreal. So it's best to equip students with both of these game engines, right? And we also noticed that Unity Engine generally has a beginner-friendly interface. So we have to give credit to that. So Unity has a better user interface, so it's easy to understand, it's general purpose enough. And if we compare it to Unreal, so while everything is provided and everything is much more powerful, there are lots of things to click and lots of items to be aware of. So for example, if you want to set up a complex scene like this, you have to be very well versed of how their outliner works, how you can organize your game objects and hierarchies, which is actually more complicated than Unity. So of course, it's well justified that Unreal Engine is tailored for AAA production. So hence, there are much more buttons to click around, right? So Unreal Engine has often beefed up features as compared to Unity, and we feel that students will appreciate this more if they first know the basics of how to create a 3D game if they use an engine or if they use a game engine. And it's easier to do that in teaching Unity. So our key examples are as follows. So there are many more aspects to both Unity and Unreal. So for example, if we want to teach Material Editor, Nanite, and Lumen, it's best if you use introductory examples for that. So the way we approach things in DLSU is, for example, in the GDEng 01, it's good enough that we can introduce them to the bare bones or it's the PBS material editor in Unity. So it's the built-in rendering provided by Unity. I think it's standard or something. So they have it's capable of doing physically based shading. It's capable of doing some global illumination. So it has the albedo, the normal, the height maps, and so on. So it's best to introduce students to this kind of interface first. And then once we carry that to Unreal, it's now something that they appreciate more if we introduce them the material graph and they already know the common properties of what physically based rendering materials would look like. So for example, since they have taken this in Unity, they should know what an albedo mean, what normal maps mean, and what height maps mean, because it's carried over to the material graph in Unreal. So hence here we can actually create the same kind of material, and then we introduce them what other advanced methods that they can do with materials. Okay? And actually ito si Unity, parang ginaya na rin nila si Unreal when it comes to the visual scripting system. So I believe Unreal's blueprint system came first before Unity's visual scripting. Okay, and even in the visual scripting aspect of Unity, it looks simpler as compared to Unreal. So it's easier to introduce something like this before we tell them that this is how it's being done in Unreal. And we also find that C# is generally easier to understand as compared to C++. So there are, of course, many more powerful um, features of C++, and explicit memory management is important for game development. So we find value in that. But in the student's perspective, we feel that it's easier for them to understand first a high-level programming language, but not like Python. So hence C# in Unity feels good. And then, of course, we do have dedicated activities on making them learn C++ and what are some of the aspects in C# that are no longer present in C++ that they must do. So we have dedicated activities for that. Okay, so here's also another good example. So in Unity, you can actually do a little bit of global illumination, but of course, it's not very powerful as that of Unreal. You can also do post-processing effects. So it's good to introduce like a limited set of functionalities of global illumination, reflections, and post-processing like bloom, exposure, in an easier engine such as Unity. And then once they have known those concepts, you can actually introduce them to the more advanced features present in Unreal, such as Lumen. So I think the problem with Unreal, it's also, to be honest, intimidating because all of their features are automatically enabled on the fly. So you can't really find how to disable them one by one. So it's not really that easy. Okay, so now let's highlight that or differentiate our DLSU Unreal Engine courses with other Unreal Engine programming courses. So we're referring to those that you find in YouTube, in free courses or Udemy and other public websites. So in our case, we designed our course to be game programming focused. And we observed that many of the programming courses available in the net, so even in YouTube, in official Unreal Engine documentation, they have dedicated programming tutorials for game programming. Some of them are actually advanced enough to be used as classroom materials. And our next highlight is we conform to the Unreal Engine gameplay framework. So this is exclusive to Unreal. I haven't seen Unity do this. So Unity kasi has like their vanilla entity component system, but Unreal has this gameplay framework. And we'll expound a little bit of this later. So this is also very important in our course. So now we actually focus more on C++ rather than blueprints, but I observe that in many of the tutorials you find in the net, many are advocating the use of blueprints. So since we are teaching programmers or we're teaching students to become industry programmers or professional programmers, designing large-scale games or AAA games, we focus on C++ more than blueprint. Okay? So I'll explain later. And we actually focus on hands-on and physics-based mechanics. But in other courses, they tend to focus on tried and tested mechanics. So for example, first-person shooter. So in our case, since there are many first-person shooter tutorials already, we complement that by allowing them to, for example, design a tank system or design, like for example, grabbing an object, placing it into like a container. So those are the things that we just add on top of existing mechanics. So we leverage on Unreal Engine's physics-based features. So like volumes, the grab mechanics, and so on. So there are many pre-built C++ features to that. And we also discuss landscaping and indoor level design. So we find Unreal Engine is, I don't know, it looks better if you design landscapes and indoors with Unreal. And with the recent introduction of the procedural content generation in what version is that? Unreal Engine 5 point something. So, but I think it's now more, it's even more promising to discuss landscaping in general. Okay. And instead of doing student-driven projects, we offer predefined projects. So meaning we just give them a certain set of technical specs that they must meet instead of doing like proposals. So why is that so? We wish to highlight or assess their competencies when it comes to game programming. So we want to have like a controlled set of assessments for example, assessing how good they are in using C++. So we have like dedicated sets of activities for that. So on the other hand, the Unreal Engine programming courses in the web are also structured, and most of the time they have source code mostly available. So now here's one reason why we don't want students, or we don't want to advocate too much on using Blueprint. So I know Blueprint is very intuitive if you control how you manage your graph, and there are ways to organize that. But the way it's being designed in a professional sense, we only use blueprints for linking major functionalities. So for example, I want to link a character behavior, a character general behavior, maybe walking, and then we link it to, let's say, a running behavior. So you actually treat this like a finite state machine instead of doing almost every single instruction to a blueprint. So hence, we actually require students to do more of C++, create their functions or public functions, and then use that in the blueprints. So there's an option to that in Unreal Engine, wherein your C++ functions can be exposed to the blueprint framework. So that's what we're teaching. So we don't want the line-by-line instruction of C++ to be created in something like this, right? So here's our next highlight. So this is, I think, one of the boilerplate code provided by Unreal Engine. And if you want to do Unreal Engine, it's essential to have an idea of how their gameplay framework works, right? So this is also why students need to fully grasp OOP, because there are many object-oriented programming principles here. Because, for example, the game mode will have direct dependencies to the pawn classes, to the player controller classes, and the player controller classes connects to the actors, and then the actors connect to the pawns. So a strong grasp of the object-oriented programming principles is required for this course. Okay, so we can maybe show a little bit of our gameplay framework on how we teach one of those concepts. I think I can show a little bit of our slides from our previous courses. So let me just hold it out. Hanapin ko lang. Ito siya. I'm not going to use full screen anymore. Ganyan na lang. So here, we're teaching you how to create a battle tank, no? Tapos nag-provide na rin kami ng materials. So I'll just skip to the parts we're in. So siguro ito, maybe this is a good example. Maybe to discuss briefly, so hindi ko na in-update yung UI. Definitely, it's an old UI, but rest assured that in our courses, we use the latest version, which is Unreal Engine 5. So hindi naman nawala yung gameplay framework, or hindi siya nag-iba. So I think this is one good example wherein there's a concept of player controller that's provided in Unreal Engine. So provided na siya ng Unreal, and then a good way to to modify its behavior is to inherit yung player controller. So parang yung vanilla player controller ng Unreal. We extend it to a tank player controller. And then, if we need to use that as a blueprint, we can extend yung C++ code to a blueprint 1. So parang yan yung sequence. So hindi why OOP is pretty much needed. So para magets ng students yung ganung concept. Okay? To skip a few slides, siguro isa pang example. Ayan. So parang ito yung magiging general behavior na parang magiging rough implementation kung bakit kailangan na may C++. This is the C++. And ito yung sa blueprint, no? Kasi parang yung crosshair screen location, so yung parang pang-targeting, sa blueprint siya pinakamadali ma-access. So maybe a quick explanation to that is dahil may access yung blueprint sa UI system ng Unreal, kaya madali mag-draw ng crosshair. Kasi itong crosshair screen location, ito yung part that's actually difficult to code, or it would take time to code in C++. Kaya nandito siya sa blueprint. And I think another example is ito, no? So if we want to, for example, extend or create a simple AI shooter, parang magiging ganito yung framework or the source code of, or the design of the of a simple tank game, leveraging yung gameplay framework ng Unreal. So first, it starts with the tank pawn. So I'm not going to describe the meaning of actors and pawns. Maybe i-reserve na lang siya sa Q&A, no? So for the unfamiliar participants, you can just search sa documentation ng Unreal, the actors and the pawns, right? So basta pawns, parang inanimate siya. It's dedicated for inanimate objects. Parang wala siyang controller, kaya siya pawn, right? So yung pawn, there's a capability to possess a pawn, and if you design that in such a way wherein you're leveraging the gameplay framework of Unreal, it allows you to actually cleverly replace yung controller niya. So this is actually going to be easy in the scene setup. So parang kung kailangan mo ng player for a tank, then you just assign your input controller, which is the tank player controller. Now, if you have many other tanks in the scene that needs to be controlled by the AI, you can just assign a tank AI controller. So imagine it's actually just going to be plug and play to the Unreal Engine system. So here's another parang very rough example na parang this is taken from, if you're familiar with the classic Left 4 Dead. So ito yung isa lang example. So kapag yung mga survivors, pwede kasing players yung mag-control. And then yung sa Left 4 Dead, di ba, may mga infected. Ganun din yung analogy. Pwedeng yung players noon kapag versus mode, pwedeng sila yung mag-control din ng mga infected na yun. So pretty much ties into a well-known AAA game. Sige, yun yung mga tinuturo namin sa students when it comes to emphasizing the use of the gameplay framework. So I do commend Unreal Engine for providing this for us, no? So si Unity, wala pa siya noon. Godot, wala rin. Okay? So ito yung advantage, kaya mas mabilis gumawa ng mga AAA or very advanced 3D game mechanics sa Unreal. So may provided na silang template. Okay, so now let's focus on our major outputs. So we have three, as mentioned earlier, we focused on predefined outputs mainly to highlight yung aspects of the skills that we wish students to possess by the end of this course. So we have ito, no? So parang may gagawin silang mechanic dito sa 1800. Tapos ito yung second, na play it, now make it, and then there's another furnishing my apartment. So some disclaimer lang, no, of yung major outputs or projects, may pagka teacher driven to. So meaning kung ano yung flavor din na gusto ng teacher, yun din yung ibibigay. Okay, so Basta ang core outputs lang, to summarize, is itong number 1, focus siya sa programming. Okay? It's a programming, gameplay programming centric. Number 2 is leveraging yung gameplay framework and yung architecture na provided ng Unreal Engine and with blueprints, okay, using blueprints. So parang ito yung medyo high level type of game programming na they have to stitch many of the game components. So yun yung highlight. And then si number 3, more of the aesthetic or level design. So yung lighting, materials, layouting, so yun yung highlight. So ngayon, depende sa teacher, pwedeng mag-iba-iba yan. So I'm just showing an example of what I do in my classes. So may personal favorite lang ako sa 1800. It's because there are some mechanics na maganda siyang i-implement sa Unreal Engine. Okay, so we can share ano yung ginagawa ko in my classes. So ito yung first challenge nila. Okay, so ang first challenge nila is, since ito yung courses na yung mga topics na nako-cover, then we must also focus a little bit of the gameplay programming. So dapat ma-cover yung scripting methods, a little bit of level editing, and a little bit of landscaping and outdoor level editing. So we must find like a clever project that students can do given these topics that we have discussed. And here's yung yung example of the Unreal Challenge 1. So for Unreal Challenge 1, they are going to simulate an example of ANOS supply chain management system. Okay, so may video dun sa next, no? Ay, yan. Gusto yung mouse ko. Oops. Okay, sige. So, i-pause ko lang muna yung video. So, yung ginagawa nito, so what it's doing here is, yung may mga sourced or mga production units that produces yung iron mine and charcoal here. And it goes to a factory that produces yung steels. Okay? So kaya ito yung hina-highlight ko. So parang ito yung mga production units and magkakaroon ng travel to a new production building that produces itong furnace that will produce yung steel beams. So may supply chain, this is the supply chain management system of ANO, and we wish students to do something like this. Right? So parang yan, no? So there's like a simple pathfinding. So pwedeng actually hard code mo lang yung direction. So at least yung mga timing and yung tracking of production values, magagawa siya in this project. Okay? So we can show a little bit of that. Maybe it's a next slide na lang. Okay? So I hope you get the idea. So yung quiz system, so now, assuming the students are done with the project, we use a quiz system for assessing yung output nila. So since the supply chain management is deterministic, madali siya gawin na parang black box test wherein we just use an online quiz system. So if you have a Canvas if you have a Canvas infrastructure or any other LMS infrastructure, you could just use an online quiz system for this. So what we do is we ask students to upload an MP4 of their game and then record yung production. So since this is deterministic, we do expect some variance or a small variance of output. So kaya naglalagay kami ng range. Okay? So para ito yung expected output. So for the other questions, so may nagpo-provide kami ng parang mga self-reporting format wherein we ask them to describe how they implement yung C++ and Blueprint requirement. So in this case, we need to ensure na karamihan ng code na ginawa nila nasa C++, and then we also observe if they are following our practice na yung mga high-level functions lang ang ideally exposed sa Blueprint, tapos yun yung gagamitin nyo kung sakaling gusto nyo mag-Blueprint. Okay, so we also observe how they structure their code and how they structure their Blueprint as well. So, syempre, mababa yung score kung naging spaghetti looking ang Blueprint nila. Okay? And then, of course, one of the questions is dedicated to an executable file to make sure that we can also run the game. So here are some of the student outputs that received perfect scores. So since here, hindi naman focus ang UI or yung layout, we're primarily focused on the correctness of the mechanic, then as simple as this layout already earns a perfect score. So na-check naman namin, tama naman yung mga production values and may mga bare bones UI rin. So this is enough to earn a perfect score. Okay? Kasi yung back-end niyan, yung gameplay programming, marami nang ginawa, okay? There are significant programming effort involved in doing something like this already, okay? So syempre may mga students na bida, na mga gusto mag-step up the game. So they have created something like this. So this is also one of the ideal. So kung very much passionate ang student, so magiging ganyan yung output. So as you see here, naglagay na sila ng konting assets, gumamit sila ng mga open source assets, and they design their UI. So hence, kaya naging ganyan siya kaganda. So such outputs are definitely welcome in my classes, although wala tong bonus point. So parang perfect lang din siya, perfect score. Okay, so yun. Okay, so sa second challenge, so by that time, dito na pumapasok yung pen. Okay, this is where the game framework, game physics interactions, and a little bit of materials are being tackled. Okay, so but the main highlight is this. So they need to have a concrete understanding of the game framework and the physics interactions. So what's our second challenge? So our second challenge is actually asking students to play this kind of mechanic. And so we just give them an executable. Okay, so we give them this executable, and then you reproduce it with the same mechanics, and at the same time making sure that everything is almost one-to-one. Okay, so it's like deconstruction. So we designed something like this with the intention na students will hopefully identify anong plugin yung gagamitin. So in case may students ako na hindi pa nag-Game Engines 2 that's here in this Zoom session, I'm not going to share anong libraries ginagamit dyan. So because if I do, baka alam nyo na ano yung gagamitin. So but it's part of their exercise na they have to figure out what Unreal Engine plugins or libraries available that they should use in creating something like an advanced physics like this. Yung may mga destructibles. So by default, hindi siya enabled sa Unreal Engine. Okay, so this is one example. Okay, and then as you notice, nagkakaroon ng mga item drops. Hence, it forces them to actually create yung mga ganong inventory mechanics. Okay. So now our last challenge is this one, no? So this is yung coverage ng topics. So it's week 10 to 13. So but rarely nakaka-discuss na kami ng mga audio. Pero in Unity Engine nadi-discuss namin yung audio system. But yeah, since in Unreal Engine the majority of the features kasi are heavier and mas sophisticated siya, you need to allocate more time to discuss yung mga ganung features. Okay? Hence, we have to choose to sacrifice some of the systems or parang self-study na lang siya sa students. So, as you notice, even if may UI system yung Unreal Challenge 1, self-study yun. So I just give them like a reading material of how to use the UI system of Unreal Engine, but it's really not dedicated to a lecture anymore. Okay. So now in this part, they need to cleverly create their own materials with emphasis of using the material editor. So maybe it's worth mentioning here now we provide them a set of physically based shading textures. So parang for example, yung mga ganyan, meron kaming library or collection of stone, wood, and so on na binibigay namin sa students so that they don't need to worry about ano yung mga textures anymore. So they just use those provided pool of textures for creating their material. So I suggest fellow institutions have that kind of practice na parang may pool of textures kayo. So actually marami naman sa internet, pwede nyong i-assemble yun. Okay? Marami namang publicly available. Okay, so here, as you notice, medyo aesthetic type siya, but we also want to constrain we want to make sure that it's well scoped. So what we do is we provide them a very small apartment that's just barely lit, na very bare bones, and then it's by pairs. So we're expecting like this kind of output na i-furnish nila ng mga items. So they're free to use mga open source 3D models. However, we're particular on the materials, okay, or on the textures being used. So for example, they can use yung mga chair assets available in the net, but they have to change the material or they must create their own materials. Kasi nga, ang highlight is the material editor or using yung mga pag-combine ng mga ganong operations or pag-simulate ng mga PBR. So in this example, dapat ang output ng students are their own materials. It's not going to be predefined somewhere. So what they are just allowed to do or use is yung mesh lang, yung mesh and yung geometry lang, nothing else. Now, for the programming components, we're expecting them to have like an interactable scene wherein, kuwari, if you enter a room, parang automatic bubukas yung ilaw, or parang there's like some interaction na pwedeng mag-pick up ng object, so yung mga ganon. Okay, so we need to make sure na this is still a programming project and not too much of 3D modeling. Okay, so hence there's a requirement for programming components. So here is also one of them. Yeah, so maybe to add to that, so yung assets, yung iba galing sa open source, but again, the materials, sila yung nagde-design. Okay? And then if kaya naman nila mag-texturing, then sila rin yung nagpo-provide ng textures. Okay? Yeah. So now we hope that our students, once they graduate, ganyan kagaganda ang gagawing games. So I have yet to see a capstone game or a game exhibit na siguro ganyan kaganda yung mga assets na pinapakita. So let's hope na in the next few years there will be games like this in various game exhibits like PGDM. Okay, so to differentiate the other challenges. So since this is more of like a project output, general project output na siya, we now use a rubric. Okay? So here's just a rough example of our rubric. So we're just assessing 3 things: scene lighting, material and illumination techniques, and overall realism. Okay? So ganyan lang siya. And I think it's also this part na since there's lots of creativity and open-ended project, as long as students start early, they actually can get perfect scores, no? So this is one of the, I would say, easiest to get a perfect score. Kasi nga, well, most students would prefer yung mga visual type of assessments, yung nakikita nila sa screen, over yung mga programming exercises. So actually yung Unreal Challenge 1 yung medyo laging mababa. So that can be like maybe a future reflection. So parang Unreal Challenge 1, maraming mababa ang scores, and then you would see an upward trend na tumataas na tumataas yung performance nila. So it can be because of the set of activities, it can be just coincidence, or possibly since nagiging familiar rin naman sila na or getting well versed with Unreal Engine, then maybe it's understandable na tumataas naman talaga yung performance nila. Okay? So ayun. So syempre on the first part, they're just getting started on learning a new game engine, and that may explain why our Unreal Engine Challenge 1 have the lowest scores almost all the time. Okay, so we're almost towards the end of my sharing. So let me share also the teacher and student experiences. So I'll just summarize yung mga important notes that we received from our student evaluations. Okay? So for the past 2 years, so yung Unreal Engine course namin, it's offered naman since kailan ba? Since this is going to be the 4th, okay? So yung next year, I believe it's going to be the 4th year of the Unreal Engine course. So we can only show yung last 2 years because nawala na yung data from the very first offering. But as you notice here na we have generally outstanding or favorable feedback, and 50% your response rate. So you might be asking how many students are there in one course. So we can average that to around 30 to 40 students. So yun yung typical intake for Unreal Engine. So both are generally outstanding. Okay? So maybe ang noteworthy dito is ako yung nagturo dito. Yan. Tapos ito yung tinuro ng... So I assigned another faculty to teach yung recent offering. So may mga binago siya, but we also have a common framework. So as you notice, we both have outstanding performance. But of course, disclaimer na hindi naman lahat sumasagot. Probably it's either yung mga nagustuhan yung course, talagang sasagutan, so they will give praises. And baka yung mga bumagsak, hindi na sumagot. So, yun lang. Okay? So, yun lang yung disclaimer. No? So, there's a 50% response rate. So there's, of course, subjective feedback that we find constructive. So, yung mga strengths is since everything is just modular, what students are mentioning is since there's always like a mini project or a mini output, they always see a finish line. Okay? So parang hindi lang siya sobrang laking project. They always like see a finish line and it adds to their portfolio. So there's like a small project that they can add. And after this course, as you imagine, there are 3 challenges. So those 3 challenges, I think, can be added to a portfolio. No? So these are portfolio worthy. And they also mentioned that the lesson plan is clear. So everything is just sequential. So may hands-on lang, may lecture, tapos may certain output. So malinaw yung direction of how they should, or if they need to do an advanced study, they know ano yung mga need i-expect. Okay, depending on what hardware students use, it's effective for a hybrid teaching setup. So to highlight, if the student has a capable workstation of running Unreal Engine, the course is structured for a deep work type of method. So meaning students can have like dedicated work hours, or online sessions or asynchronous sessions just doing yung mga projects or homeworks that we provide. So now, ano yung weaknesses or improvements? So of course, may nagsabi na exercises should be only until midterms. But I have to argue na since the Unreal game engines must be learned through repeated practice and hands-on,
Yeah.
Mahirap to. So it's just really, I would say, time management na to. And yeah, no, so of course there will be some students na gusto chill lang, gusto YouTube na lang. So may iba nagsasuggest na sana yung hanggang midterms lang daw yung exercises. So I would say parang hindi ata talaga pwede. And then this one is also worth mentioning na to be honest, even in De La Salle University, may ganito pa ring problem once in a while. So Unreal Engine understandably require high hardware requirements to run on student PCs. So maybe a suggestion to other institutions. So maybe what works in DLSU, meron talaga kaming dedicated lab that caters for Unreal Engine. So talagang game development lab that we allow students to use that as long as walang classes. So it's an open lab, yung tawag namin. So it's situated in the Laguna campus. So that's one. And another is maybe like during mga orientation or yung mga freshman or admissions or orientation, pwedeng sabihan nyo na yung parents and students na if they're interested in enrolling in our game development course, ito yung requirements na hinahanap namin. Ito yung minimum requirements ng laptop nila para hindi magka-problema down the line. Pero in any case, in our case, no, siguro maybe very specific to DLSU, parang mga 95% naman ng students kaya ang Unreal Engine. So of course, not the other institutions. Pwedeng iba yung story. So ayun nga. So but at least if you plan to offer Unreal Engine, then the institution must provide a dedicated support for that. So in our case, we address that by providing a high-end computer lab. Okay, so we make sure na itong computer lab na to, kapag mag-update ng specs, talagang kaya dapat yung Unreal. So actually, kaya naman na dapat as long as you have at least 8 gigabytes of GPU RAM. So pag ganyan, normally, kaya na eh. Hindi naman halos yung some of our output or some of our discussions would not really require very, very advanced specs. Hindi naman sila heavy sa rendering, no? So I think an 8 gigabytes would suffice in GPU. So let's now check yung sa teacher experiences. So in the teacher experiences, we recently observed that Unreal Engine went through many updates. So lalo na yung Unreal Engine 5. So what we believe will remain integral or foundational are as follows. So yung gameplay framework, hindi na magbabago yan. As far as I know, C++ and blueprint interaction, and then yung workflow sa lighting, materials, and rendering. So parang it's almost stable na siya. Ang nagbabago lang is probably the UI. So sometimes Unreal Engine would make a button smaller or ililipat siya to some other menu. So that happened in Unreal Engine 5. So ngayon, ang challenge ngayon sa teacher, so every time we revisit yung materials, ito yung mga challenging talaga na part of life na to if you want to become future Unreal Engine instructors. Yung user interface pabago-bago talaga. So minsan nawawala yung button, parang nasa na yung play, parang ay lumiit na pala yung play button. So yung ibang mga ginagawa naming workflow na iba na siya sa Unreal Engine 5. So kapag nag-update yung engine, there's really no choice but to also update or download the latest version and recheck, no? Kung gumagana pa yung mga existing materials. And next is there are function calls that gets deprecated. So I have encountered na some of my learning materials, pagdating sa Unreal Engine 5, nag-syntax error na yung C++ kasi nawala na yung mga gantong function. So I have to update kung ano yung mga new functions na dapat tawagin. And yung asset integration, parang dito nagfo-focus yung Unreal Engine recently. Naglalagay kasi sila ng mga meta-humans, ini-improve yung Lumen, yung Nanite, pinapaganda pa. So yung mga asset integration, parang nag-iiba-iba pa siya. So nagkakaroon na kasi ng mga AI stuff. So etong part na to, I would say madami pang mababago. So brace yourself if you are focusing on the modeling and animation workflow ng Unreal Engine. So now, Unreal Engine and beyond, no? So where does our Unreal Engine carry over after the course? So ito na yon, si game engine construction namin. So while we ask students to create game engines from scratch, we actually borrow many of the concepts to the two engines, si Unity and Unreal. So we always refer, parang ano yung experience nyo sa Unreal, gawin nyo nga siya dito sa bagong as your own game engine. So here's an example, no? So some of the elements in Unreal Engine that we have taught, we teach them to GDEng 03. So we strongly reference yung mga Unity materials and Unreal Engine materials namin in our hands-on activities. So this is an example. So si Unreal Engine, so hindi to project lang, no? Actually class activity lang to, no? Parang seat work lang. So may feature kasi si Unreal Engine na yung multiple viewport. Ito, no? So pwedeng mag-multiple viewport, iba-iba yung yung camera positions, iba-iba yung nire-render. So we also ask students to do the same in their game engine construction course. So there's a way to do this if they know completely how a rendering pipeline works and how they use yung mga rendering APIs like DirectX or OpenGL. So in our course, we're using DirectX, right? For GDEng 03. And ito, this is one of the other seat work na medyo written to. It's not really hands-on programming. Yung may option kasi sa Unreal Engine na mag-eject ng controller tapos ina-navigate mo yung scene. So it's useful for debugging, yung checking yung level design. So may ganun siyang feature every time if you play the scene. So there's now a question in one of our seat works that asked them na how do you implement something like this, no? So they have to now create like an essay or a code snippet of how they would do something like this in their game engine. So conceptual lang to. So it's going to be just a submission of an essay, okay? Because I check kung maayos ba yung explanation nila. So are they actually showing source yung handwritten code or sketches? So that's one way to know if they have an idea how to actually create this from scratch. Okay? Ayan. So ayun lang. So this is yung last slide. So I will end my talk here. So thank you very much. So if you have question and answer, so we will now open the floor, and here's my email address kung may mga gusto kayong erase after this session. So ayun. So thank you very much for listening and attending my talk with Unreal Engine community. So sige, passing the mic to Sir Michael.
Yan, thank you so much. Siguro first question sa akin, you mentioned a lot of tools. Initially, you were teaching more on the functionality, di ba?
Yes. So,
pero in the later courses, may mga creative tools ka na mention, materials, lighting.
Yeah.
Do you also teach yung mga development students on the creative side before them actually uses those tools?
Our approach kasi specific sa game development, intentionally talagang ifo-focus namin sila sa programming. So parang if there are opportunities that would require them to type code rather than yung mga drag and drop, doon kami pumupunta, or doon yung design ng mga courses namin. So kaya yun nga, as a consequence, yung mga modeling, yung mga animation and other creative workflow of Unreal Engine, hindi na siya natatakel. So magiging na siya, future work. So at least once the students are done, we could really say na anything na programming or require them to redesign Unreal Engine, kaya dapat Okay? So parang alam na dapat nila ano yung pwedeng i-turn off na feature
Mm.
and how they can code yung mga AAA type of mechanics. Yun yung magiging specialty ng mga students ng at least no at I hope in our courses. And maybe another thing worth mentioning sa game engine construction course, itong part
Mm.
just this year, inintroduce ko na rin yung activity na i-recompile yung Unreal Engine source code. So actually, yung source code ng Unreal Engine, pwede mo actually siyang kunin sa available siya. Pwede mong laro-laruin, pwede mong ibahin yung UI. So tinuturo na namin sa students or exposing that kind of practice kasi nga parang very rare sa professional gaming company na gumagamit ng Unreal na vanilla Unreal version ang ginagamit. So they will of course come up with their own special Unreal version and we hope that students have that knowledge. So tinuturo na namin siya na this is how you recompile Unreal, tapos ano yung tatanggalin mo pag hidden object game ang gagawin. So ayun. So it's now actually part of our class activities. So yun lang yung ano ko answers.
Additional question din. Kasi you have pre-planned projects na.
Yeah.
But may mga students ba na nagki-crave na they wanted to create their own game using Unreal?
Yeah, okay. That's sige. So that's a good question to expound. Sige. Sa Unreal Engine, sa at least specific sa Unreal Engine, parang wala sa mismong course lang. And I don't know why, maybe because pwedeng ay ang dami na palang gagawin, sige, parang ano na lang, okay na tong predefined projects, pwedeng ganun yung mindset. So but if they do want to create a game, we observe that nagamit Unreal, nangyayari lang siya sa capstone. So the capstone projects, which is 1 year in duration, doon siya nangyayari. So students will have the chance to pursue their capstone games and use whatever engine they want. So there will be some students na mag-Unreal Engine. So for example, yung mga gusto ng 3D type of games na medyo photorealistic in nature, mag-Unreal Engine sila. And it's also what we're going to suggest to them. So parang ganon. So if students would create their own games, nangyayari siya sa amin during capstone. Tapos pag sa course proper talaga na Unreal Engine, parang wala pa nagsabi naman na parang sir pwede bang gumawa na lang kami ng sarili naming game. Parang wala rin kasi nga baka naging super busy na rin sila sa mga binibigay naming projects.
Alright. Jalian, do we have some questions sa mga viewers natin?
Yes po. For the first question from Bing, ano pinakamahirap na challenges na hinaharap ng mga students sa paggamit ng Unreal Engine?
Okay, so challenge na general siguro yan, no? Hindi yung challenges ng yung Unreal Challenge Project. Sige, yun yung pangalan ng ano namin, machine ng mga projects eh. Sige, ang general challenge, so word of the day, is siguro to be yung pinaka-common lagi na nakikita ko or na-encounter ko sa students. Yung pag let's say hindi sila masyadong magaling sa object-oriented programming, yun yung kailangan siguro tutukan ng instructor. So mapapansin nyo yan on the first few weeks. So in my case, napapansin ko na siya in the first few weeks kasi nga, as shown in my slide, sa una pa lang programming na kasi talaga agad, no? So yung dito pa lang sa Unreal Challenge 1. So kaya rin ito yung advantage sa amin kung bakit nasa forefront ang mga programming components talaga, yung scripting, kasi parang dyan naman din talaga yung bulk of understanding yung mismong programming workflow ng Unreal. So I find students na kung hindi sila magaling noon sa object-oriented programming or they barely passed object-oriented programming. Nahihirapan sila mag-grasp yung concepts ng blueprints, yung actors, yung pawns, yung controllers, tapos yung gameplay framework. So, yung part na yon. So, kapag may programming, dun mahihirapan or nagiging challenging. So, ano yung remedy for that? So, it's either you give them more activities that are programming in nature, or pwedeng ibalik nyo sila sa mga basic na C++ OOP principles. I think that's also going to work. Ayun lang. So, I do believe na yung mga students naman na maybe generally passionate or talagang na-pick yung interest sa Unreal, noon hindi sila marunong mag-program sa Unreal, but at by the end of the course, parang alam na rin nila, so naging pumasa naman sila eventually. So, yeah. So, yeah.
So expected dito, yung learning curve ng mga students, very gradual yung transition nila.
Actually, coming from Unity, galing sila sa Unity, actually biglang abrupt kasi bukas ng editor, di ba, ang dami-dami buttons. Tapos minsan yung post-processing enabled na, ayos na yung lighting, tapos iba rin yung drag and drop interface. Yung coordinate system iba rin, alam ko, kasi sa Unity.
Okay ba nga?
So yung mga ganon, parang ang dami ng so medyo info overload talaga siya sa una. But it's really going to happen, kaya talaga focus namin, as you notice, yung challenge 1, wala kaming emphasis sa camera kasi nga ang camera ng Unreal Engine, iba rin siya sa how Unity is being designed. So, kaya ito yung magandang napili naming game, or at least sa akin, kasi yung camera system ng same na siya dun sa default or vanilla camera system ng Unreal. So at least that's -1 to a feature that they would worry about when they're creating their projects. Tapos sa Unreal Challenge 2 na namin dinidiscuss yung mga camera systems na kapag first person, third person, and so on. So ayun.
Okay. Jillian?
Ay, ito po. May share lang po ako, may na-chat sa live chat natin. Sabi ni Alson, I'm still using my 7-year-old laptop for Unreal Engine 5.
Kaya dapat. So as long as dapat may 8 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes na GPU. Medyo kaya na ata ang 6. Pero I would suggest at least 8 gigabytes. Of course, you need a powerful workstation na if you want to maximize yung nanite, yung lumen, yung procedural content generation, yung mga meta-humans. So, yun.
Sabi niya basta gaming laptop or gaming PC, automatically kaya yung Unreal.
Yes, so...
Alright.
Yes. So, ito question from Tonton. Team-based ba ang approach niyo sa mga curriculum projects? Paano niyo masisiguro na balanced at well-distributed ang roles ng bawat isa sa Unreal projects nila?
Pakiulit-ulit ng question.
Team-based po ba ang approach ninyo sa curriculum projects? Paano niyo nasisiguro na balanced at well-distributed ang mga roles ng bawat isa sa kanilang project?
Okay. That's a good question, no? So we don't want freeloaders. Unreal Challenge 1 is actually individual with that same mindset na ako mismo gusto ko sa course na to marunong lahat mag-program, di ba? So kaya ang Unreal Challenge 1 it's individual actually. So lahat talaga sila mafo-force mag-program. So at this point kaya din ina-advocate ko ang quiz system. So itong gantong style kasi madali na rin siya sa part ng teacher mag-check. So, as long as you can determine ano yung magiging expected output ng mechanics, so at least specific dito sa challenge 1 namin, since deterministic siya, madali mo ngayon malalaman ano yung expected output. So, parang magiging siya, parang 10 points or nothing na lang, di ba? So, Ngayon, at the same time, si students, alam na rin nila ano yung clear expectation kasi you can actually provide them a mock quiz. So I have actually a mock quiz na para ito yung sample quiz so para alam nila kung may kulang pa dun sa project, gano'n. So it's also easy to check. So ngayon, ang suggestion ko, if it's going to be individual, what works best for the teachers as well? Kasi ayaw mo naman ang dami mong checkan na projects, right? Gawin siyang parang quiz system nga, no? So something like this. So that's a strong recommendation. Si Unreal Challenge 2, ito, let me recall. Ano to? Yung Unreal Challenge 2, individual din to or by pair. Alam ko individual din to, tong Unreal Challenge 2. Kasi nga, deterministic lang din tong output. So, which is, they're just going to... So, once they're done, parang may clear idea ka na kung natapos sila or not eh. So, kaya madali rin din to i-check. Itong 3 lang actually sa amin yung by pairs. Okay? By pairs yan. So, ngayon, kasi maybe coincidental lang din, pero yung courses kasi namin, hindi na parang nasa 30 students lang. Minsan, so maximum na talaga yung 40, dalawang sections. So, kaya pa namin i-check, no, kung by pairs to. So you would imagine that's like 20 outputs. Tapos, very straightforward lang din ng rubric. So, that's easy enough. So, ayun. So, I do agree na workload must be balanced, no, across team projects. So in this case, individual sila. Kaya balance yun. Dahil lahat magko-code.
Yan.
Ayan po. Next question from Boy. Ano ang mga tips niyo po sa mga educators na gustong mag-integrate ng Unreal Engine sa kanilang curriculums?
Okay. Sige, no? So that's I would discuss ano yung na-experience ko as a teacher and as maybe as an administrator or as the chair of the department. Maybe first things first, if you plan to offer Unreal Engine, dapat siguro yung faculty involved give them at least 3 months to prepare. So yun yung recommendation. At least 3 months to prepare the material and give them that time. Kasi the problem is if sinabak nyo agad sila sa Unreal, parang, oy, ito, kailangan natin ng Unreal, tapos, days, lang, parang the first day pa lang, tinuturo na agad yung Unreal. You would end up with a course na parang chop suey na parang etong hands-on, ito yung gagawin, tapos move kagad sa next. So parang hindi siya cohesive. So dapat may vision or may direction yung course, and that can only happen if you give them at least 3 months to prepare. So at least they have an idea how to structure the course, ano yung mga major outputs. Hindi yung parang naghahabol ng lesson plan, di ba? So that's one. And then the second part is if you're now going to be the Unreal Engine instructors, also create the projects yourselves. Also program or do programming of the projects that you plan to create. So wag lang mag-rely masyado sa mga tutorials din. So kasi as instructors, gusto mo rin na ikaw mismo, you know how to actually code or develop games in Unreal Engine. So I think that would be like a holistic instructor if you actually create your own games and have those kinds of experience in Unreal Engine. So yun yung yung suggestions.
Thank you po. Next question from Alfredo Tan. Hanggang saan po dapat hikayatin ng mga estudyante na i-break ang mga rules para matutunan ng mga bagong unconventional methods sa game development?
Paulit nga lang ulit ng question para maisip ko ano
hanggang saan po dapat hikayatin ng mga students na i-break ang mga rules para matutunan ng mga bagong unconventional methods sa game development?
I-break ang mga rules. Medyo mahirap sagutin yan. So, break ang rules. Siguro ang suggestion ko is, ako, naniniwala ko na pag ang instructor is parang role model din. So, meaning,
Mm.
dapat mapakita mo sa students na ikaw mismo marunong ka mag-Unreal Engine.
Mm.
So, I show that through my credentials. I show that through my publications and my projects. So, kapag nakita naman nila, parang normally, it's implied that they would also follow suit kasi parang hindi rin sila makakahanap ng excuse, no? Kapag hindi nila na-deliver yung project. Kasi ikaw mismo, alam mo how you coded it or how you created yung mga ganong projects. So that's one. I think it would inspire students if the instructors themselves are doing or really doing yung programming and creating yung mga activities. Okay. And then siguro ano pa, maybe siguro as part of the course or while delivering the course, once in a while, i-relate nyo siya sa ano yung mga games na nilalaro nila. Okay? Na hopefully dapat AAA. So I'm pretty sure students pursuing game development would have played some AAA game. So you need to try to relate or be familiar with that mechanic as well para at least makonect dun sa course. Ano pa? So marami namang games na ginawa sa Unreal Engine na sikat. So definitely Tekken franchise, that's one. And there are of course other PS5 games that you could reference. So and lastly, since we're referring games, then dapat yung mga instructors, gamers din, no? So marunong din talagang maglaro. They're also avid players by default.
Right? Kalian?
Next question po from Carlos Magno. Ano po yung success metrics para malaman na effective na natuto yung mga students sa paggamit ng game engine?
So, as of this time, yung courses kasi namin, yung grades sila, no? So, kung ano yung grades na makuha nila, that's the success metrics that we can use, no? But it's a different story naman na kapag, let's say, nag-graduate na sila sa amin and ano yung nangyayari sa industry, that's of course a different story na we also need a tracer study to be objective kung talagang may natutunan sila. Siguro based from word of mouth, marami naman sa graduates namin ang qualified or nag-start mag-create ng kanilang mga games using Unreal Engine. So that's a good start. Maybe for the short term, yung mga students naman namin, generally speaking, 90% of them will pass Unreal Engine. Okay? Ang mga hindi lang naman pumapasa is yung eventually hindi pumapasok or I don't know, yung mga tinamad halfway, yung hindi na talaga magsasubmit ng output at all. So that's yung mga cases lang talaga na they would fail. So as long as they submit and do yung projects, pumapasa naman sila.
Is it safe to assume na na once they have passed this course, industry ready na sila?
Yes, I would say that. Oo, kasi yung tinuturo naman namin sa kanila are reflective of the industry practices. So yun nga, no? For example, yung recent example ko lang na we teach them how to recompile Unreal Engine. So that's an industry practice now. So hopefully they would apply that immediately after graduation.
So, Jalan?
Question po from Flores. Ano po yung mga future plans ng De La Salle Computer Studies para sa pagpapalawak ng Unreal Engine-based programs at courses sa game development curriculum niyo?
Okay, siguro, our strategy is not to be too dependent on game engines, actually. So we teach students how to be familiar with kung ano man yung game engine na available, ano yung even the frameworks actually, the open source game framework. So dapat familiar sila, like pag itong game lang maganda Unity to, kapag itong game maganda sariling game engine to kasi kakaiba siya, or tas itong third game pwede siguro Unreal kasi nga AAA. So we hope we try to teach our students that kind of mindset
Mm.
na agnostic siya, okay, on the
Mm.
technology, kasi mabilis naman magbago ang trend ngayon. So, kuwari, uso ngayon yung AI, but after a few years, probably hindi na AI. Probably it might be something else.
Mm.
Same goes with mga AR, VR, na minsan nag-iiba rin siya ng trend.
Mm.
So, there was a time na super uso yung metaverse, tapos biglang nawala na rin. Nauso yung blockchain. So, once in a while, lumalabas pa rin yung blockchain. Pero hindi siya yung sumisikat. So, it comes and go. Tapos, yeah. So, we try to teach students to be technology agnostic and even game engine
Mm.
agnostic. Yun. So, maybe to be specific on Unreal Engine, kasi marami pa namang hindi na-discuss na features, kasi nga ang laki-laki ng game engine na yan. What can be promising that we might do in the next few years is siguro elective. Parang one more elective na ang focus lang is 3D modeling talaga or animation workflows ng Unreal, or pwedeng yung mga ano pa ba? Yung mga Lumen, yung mga Nanite, pwedeng isang sila, parang standalone courses. So yun, so parang it can have like one more course, like an Unreal Engine special course. But baka hanggang doon na lang, no? Kasi we feel na kahit dalawang course, it may be enough for the students to be equipped with Unreal Engine. So maybe in the future din as well, since we're highlighting game development students, we have kasi a set of students that's focusing on arts and design. So if you check our website, dalawang strands yon, yung game development. So IET game development, and then we also have IET arts and design. So in the future, it is worthwhile to also teach our arts and design students Unreal Engine, yung particular on the workflow ng animation, ng mga asset integration. So bagay na ituro siya with those students.
Right. Julian?
Next question po from Tina Reyes. Ano po yung mas preferred ninyo? Matuto ang estudyante sa isang specialized part ng Unreal Engine or general knowledge sa buong platform?
I would say general knowledge, kasi ang specialized, what if pag specialized kasi that is also correlated with with frequency of use. So kung very special sila, for example sa sa landscaping, what if hindi naman kailangan ng landscaping sa project, no? So baka hindi din sila makuha. So I would say dapat general purpose, kasi or even yung foundational. So I have mentioned yung mga foundational topics in Unreal Engine, which is etong tatlo, but I may have, or there may be other foundational topics. So magandang equip sila with foundational or foundational topics. It's because it's foundational, even if parang they remain integral, parang it's always going to be like a bread and butter feature if you're going to use Unreal Engine. So it's best for students to have a good grasp of yung gameplay framework, yung C++ and blueprint interaction. Kasi kung may bago naman idadagdag si Unreal, or may tatanggalin, may babaguhin, they can always study it. They can always self-learn it. But it's faster to self-learn yung mga ganong bagong features or bagong trends if they know very well yung foundational. So, for example, marunong na sila mag C++ by default.
Julian?
Question from Arthur 101. What's your opinion regarding sa pagturo ng basic game development at game arts sa mga high school students?
Ah, ako ang recommendation ko is siguro wag muna Unreal. So, an Unreal Engine sponsored talk.
Or 2D lang, no? 2D muna.
Kapag ganun, I would say Godot muna. Pwedeng ganun. Para hindi mabigla. Godot is okay. Unity is also okay. Baka pwedeng Unreal pero dapat very very structured, or even the facilitator, they really know well how to make it digestible for the students. Yun lang siguro yung disclaimer.
Ito po, question naman from One Gamers. Ano yung reaction mo regarding sa mga features ng mga games ngayon na katulad ng Minecraft or Roblox na nagtuturo sa mga bata ages 8 years old and below to create their own games at 3D world?
I think that's a welcome addition, no? So para at least kapag ang mga students of young age, if they are introduced very early to the game programming background, it would entice them, no, to join the game development industry in the long run. So exposure very early is very much welcome, and we are actually thankful ginagawa siya ng ibang mga instructors, no, para at least pagdating sa amin, no, at least alam na nila, or they have some they already discovered their passion in game development.
Question po from Bang. Naging plano niyo po ba na maging career na maging isang guro sa game development field?
So personal, no? Actually, hindi. Alam mo, so, siguro maybe parang paano ako nag-end up sa academia.
Paano nga ba?
Actually, hindi, no? Well, to explain, so don't get me wrong, I am enjoying my profession now. So I find it very fulfilling. Naka-research ako, naka-teaching. So maybe a background bakit ako nag-end up here, it's nasaan ba yung plano ko? So, nasa game industry ako before, okay? So, Anino Games and Play Lab. Tapos, na-reach ko na rin kasi yung peak ng career ko on Anino Games. So, being a game developer, parang hanggang senior rank lang talaga. Tapos, since we're also doing the same kinds of projects, for some reason, na hindi ko na control. So at least I pursued additional parang growth or maiba naman. So I decided to pursue masters while I was in the game development industry. Tapos nung natapos na ako sa masters, coincidentally, mas mataas pala ang sahod ng academe kaysa sa game development. So yeah, so if that's new to you, then so yun, that's a surprise. So competitive actually ang salary ng academe. So I hope that also entices future graduates to consider pursuing career in academe and in science and in research. So to be honest, competitive din naman siya. So ayun. So kaya ako nag-decide mag-pursue ng academe. Tapos nung nasa academe na ako, syempre nagkaroon ng mga recognitions. Natapos ko yung PhD ko rin with recognition. So it just fueled my growth and my fulfillment and my passion in building yung profile ko. So to highlight, ang majority of my time is actually spent on research, not really teaching. So parang aside sa teaching ng Unreal, we're in active pursuit of knowledge creation. So kaya may project ako with DOSCP Shared na gagawa kami ng sariling game engine nga. Kasi nga we aside from being teachers, we also need to create, or it's our responsibility to push the boundaries of knowledge or contribute to the body of work. And this is why may active research agenda ako. So now, if I hope that some of the game development will also have this kind of mindset na they want to invent, no? If you want to invent, if you want to create completely new techniques na hindi lang games,
Mm.
pwedeng technology, then by all means, you are welcome to pursue a career in academia. There.
Next question po from Erica Barundia. Which is the better game engine to learn after Godot, Unity or Unreal?
Okay. So, ang maganda is yung dun sa ano namin, recommendation. Na at least in our case, ganito yung sequence. So, ayan, no? So, Unity muna, tapos pag okay ka na sa Unity, pwede ka na mag-Unreal. Tapos kapag okay ka na, pwede ka na gumawa ng sarili mong game engine. So, kaya siya maganda, in my opinion, it's because maraming features si Unreal na sobrang dense na you would just appreciate bakit siya ganun ka-dense or bakit ganun yung workflow niya if you have an idea of how other game engines do it. So si Unity kasi it's like a beginner type of general purpose 3D game engine. So ma-appreciate mo bakit si Unreal ganito kadami yung pipindutin mong buttons sa material system if you have some idea about the material system. And yung material system, we find that it's easier to learn that in Unity. So I would say after Godot, mag-Unity ka lang muna, and then after you're done with Unity, familiar ka na, pwede ka na mag-Unreal. And actually may guide nga si Unreal na how to switch from Unity to Unreal. May official guide sila. So yun. Pero I'm not sure kung meron ganun si Unity na how to switch from Unreal to Unity. Parang wala akong makitang ganun.
Wala akong napansin.
Yeah.
Alright.
Next question po. Ano po yung from Manoy? Ano po ang ma-advise niyo sa mga magka-college pa lang na interested sa game development courses?
Well, first is sa amin kayo mag-enroll. Ang advice ko is definitely have a passion for programming. Hindi porke mahilig lang kayo mag-computer games, enough na yon for a game development. So in fact, you'll be bombarded with lots of programming exercises, lots of math, lots of statistics. So you need to make sure na yung mga ganong courses, love nyo rin sila, no? Hindi lang computer game. So yun yung advice ko. So if you plan to be successful in the game development program and be game developers in the future, passion for programming is definitely a must. So you must really find genuine interest in writing code, no? So typing on the keyboard, magsulat ng code, even if you don't have yung mga beautiful 3D scene editors na provided ng mga game engines. Okay? Sige.
Alright. Ganyan.
Next question from Dexter. Interested po ako na mag-take ng game development courses pagdating ng college. Paano ko po i-convince ng parents ko na may negative impressions sa video games?
Siguro, I think you can show them yung mga ano pa pwede. Well, you can show them siguro, ito yung mga ginagamit na ano. So instead of showing games, siguro naman kasi pag sa parents, o pag games pinakita mo, malamang iba yung impression nila. So I think you need to also show them what goes behind game development. So at least have some feel of ano yung practices. So it's worthwhile to show them or discuss to them na ito yung mga ginagamit namin. And it's actually an interdisciplinary profession. That means na hindi lang naman game developers ang involved in successful games. It actually involves many people of different backgrounds. So meron psychology, merong architects, for example, for creating mga very realistic scenes. May filmmakers kasi nga some are, kung gagawa ka ng Last of Us or God of War na game, kailangan mo talaga ng expertise sa filmmaking, no, to create yung mga ganong cinematics. So it's actually a highly interdisciplinary
Recording
field.
stopped.
Okay. Tapos, yeah, so yung mga ganyang mga workflow, I think it's worthwhile ipakita nyo rin na ano siya, no? It's actually a science, okay? So it's a science and not just playing games. Yeah.
Okay.
Next question naman from Kulot. Meron po bang college degree para maging isang game development teacher? At may license po ba yun katulad ng mga regular teachers?
Um, okay, so hindi kasi ako yung best person dyan. But as far as I know, meron mga certifications na nire-release ang TESDA. Pero alam ko wala kasing license yan na na very strict na parang licensed professional teachers. Hindi siya nag-a-apply sa field na to kasi technology-based siya or computing in nature, parang similar sa computer science na wala namang board exam. But if you do want to get certifications, definitely TESDA, meron silang ino-offer. And ako lang, siguro as perception as chair, hindi rin naman kami particular sa mga certifications. We're actually particular more on the degree. So if you want to be teachers talaga, then definitely higher degrees like the master's or even a doctorate is very beneficial if you want to be part of a university. And yeah, and research then, at least in our case, in DLSU, we are really particular about the research aspect. Okay? Kaya may mga areas kami of research expertise. Yun. Ano pa? Yun lang. So my suggestion is if you want to be a game development teacher, maybe specific to our university, we're particular on the degree earned. So masters and doctorate degrees are very required, at least in our university. Less on certifications. Parang actually, hindi na nga siya required. And then, portfolio. So we need to know if you're capable of teaching our courses by showing us if you have projects or develop or curriculum materials or papers or research papers that uses Unity or Unreal. So yun yung mga tinitingnan namin. Yan.
Alright.
Next question po from Bogs. Paano niyo po makukuha ang complete document ng game development Philippine Skills Framework?
Ulit, sorry.
Paano niyo po makukuha ang complete document ng game development Philippine Skills Framework?
Actually, if you just search the net, the Philippine Skills Framework, tapos DTI, may link. Nakuha ko lang din siya sa link. It's actually publicly available. If nasa Zoom chat, pag sinend ko ba sa Zoom chat, paano ba? Well, I have a copy of that, pero I don't know how to send that to YouTube. But it's titled naman Philippine Skills Framework. And siya, it's with DTI. Ayan. Okay, tapos hanapin nyo lang yung link. Nakuha ko lang din siya in the internet. And it contains a sophisticated documentation of this, no? Yan. So dito rin kami nagbase. Okay. So masa-search siya ako kasi na-search ko. Sige.
Ayan po. Next question po from Nika. May college course po in art production rather than game development?
Specific sa LaSalle, meron kami noon which is yung arts and design. So yung focus naman noon is really on the art production. Okay? And we also teach them yung game design techniques doon. So ang game development namin focuses nga on the game programmer skill. Okay. So yun.
Well, they also use game engines din naman, no?
Yung arts and design limited lang. So actually mas gamit nila yung mga 3D modeling software like Blender, 3ds Max, and yun, and the like.
All right. Okay.
Next question po. Ano ang mga karagdagang resources o suporta na inaalok po ng De La Salle upang mapadali ang learning experience ng mga estudyante?
Well, first, yung materials naman namin, available siya kagad. Kasi nga, we were given, I prepared yung materials 3 months in advance bago ko siya ituro. So, available na siya kagad. So, pino-provide naman namin, except of course the source code. Yung source code din namin binibigay. We have that, tapos na siya, naka-structure na rin siya sa canvas namin na ito yung sequence. May sarili rin kaming lecture videos na kami yung gumawa na showing tutorials how to use Unreal Engine. And we also show them, no? We have a collection of ideal student outputs or yung mga best student outputs para alam rin nila ano yung ina-expect namin. And that feeds then yung parang cycle na yung students may inspire na ito dapat yung output. Tapos yung output na nila ngayon, yun na yung updated na ilalagay namin dun sa collection and so on. So para at least may may idea na ito yung mga standards na sineset namin sa course.
Ito po next question from my mind. Doon po sa Unreal Challenge na series, so far po, feasible naman po ba yung mga time frame para makadeliver ng effective results sa mga students?
Well, generally speaking, yes. Kasi 90% nakasubmit naman on time. Or pwedeng force sila to submit on time kasi strict kami sa deadlines. So pag ito na yon, tapos na, wala nang gigrade na namin. So yeah, nagagawa naman nila ng paraan. So I would say kaya yan. Of course, makita kami sa evals, no, na parang madaming ginagawa, may ang daming assignments, but ang argument ko naman is nasa university setting ka, and hence you need to of course practice and you need to of course meet these certain standards. So hindi yung mag-YouTube na lang tayo, no, or chill lang. So ayun, yun yung explanation for that.
Yeah. So ito last question po from Jean. Do you work also with other professionals if your modules are aligned with the current industry standards in the gaming industry?
Definitely, I would say yes. So we have consultants with the Philippine gaming industry. We are in active participation with the Game Developers Association of the Philippines when it comes to structuring yung courses. So actually kami na rin naman yung nilalapitan, so sometimes it's like a shared responsibility na industry approaches us yung parang na ito yung ginagawa namin, ito yung expertise. They sometimes approach us for internship, and at the same time we approach them naman kung let's say kailangan namin ng teachers, and at the same time i-consult yung kung aligned ba yung curriculum sa gaming industry in general. So we are confident to say that at least in DLSU, yung curriculum namin aligned siya, perfectly aligned with the current state or the demands of the PH gaming industry. So what we actually need right now are teachers, no? So ayun, so this is why we're also on the lookout for industry lecturers who would wish to teach with us. So please do apply.
One last question para sa akin. You've been teaching for so many years now. Paano yung approach mo more on ni-spoon-feed mo ba yung mga students, or do you allow them to discover certain things in your subjects, lalo na dito sa game development?
So I actually am in the spirit of being a student-centered university. Yun yung tawag, no? So alam ko may misconception na pag student-centered, isa-spoon-feed mo na lahat, i-babysit mo. Actually, hindi dapat ganon. So meaning is you actually encourage them to drive their own learning, make them do hands-on experiential approach siya. So I'm that kind of teacher that bombards students or gives students homeworks, fitworks to make sure that they're doing things na hands-on, as opposed to teachers na chillax, na lecture-based lang, tapos after that wala na activity, so next classroom. So yeah, so my students would of course so now it depends also perception ng students. So maybe I'm fortunate that the students that I'm getting with highly value yung mga maraming activities kasi nga alam nilang marami kaming ginagawa and marami silang natututunan. But of course, I do encounter some students na alam mo na ayaw ng gantong karaming workload. Gusto chill lang or may party on a Friday. So hindi so magrereklamo sila na ang dami-daming ginagawa. So of course, we do have those kinds of students and I just brush it off. So parang this is my stance, my approach or my advocacy na for you to learn, practice talaga. Practice makes perfect. And I do that with numerous class activities.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen naman.
Yeah, stop now.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you, Sir Neil, for that very highly informative educational lecture that you provided. And of course, special thanks na rin kay Dr. Ethel Chua Joy Ong and kay Sir Rafael Cabredo and kay Miss Arawela Ludelmo and kay Sir Mark Anthony Hernandez.
Maraming salamat rin sa mga sponsors natin. Artmaker Studios, De La Salle University College of Computer Studies and Game Lab, UPLB Computer Science Society, and UPHSL College of Computer Studies.
And reminders din, kapag may mga Unreal projects kayo na something really cool, open tayo dyan, mga students, mga startup groups. Yan. We invite you to be our guest speaker. Just send us an email at community@unreal.ph.
Pwede niyo rin po kaming i-follow sa aming mga social media channels. Lahat po yan Unreal PHL. You can also join us on our Unreal community and Discord. To everyone watching right now, live man po yan or pre-recorded.
This is your host, Michael Rivero.
And I'm your co-host, Jelly Ann Carrillo. Thank you so much po.
Yeah, maraming salamat. Thank you.